begin the Dharma talk here for the evening, which is going to be looking at chapter 21 of Ben Connelly's book, which is titled Seeing the Rain of Jewels. And the verse from the poem that Ben is commenting on throughout this text consists of this sentence: "This rain of jewels benefits all life, filling all space." So we have introduced here in this part of the poem a metaphor that's best known from the Lotus Sutra, actually. So I wanted to kind of begin tonight just by linking up with that. The chapter from the Lotus Sutra on, I think the title of it is something like medicinal plants, but it's about dharma rain. So if we go from the rain of jewels to dharma rain, but of course we don't need to exercise much in the way of imagination to see that these are pointing to the same thing. And one of the points that the Lotus Sutra is drawing from this is the main reason that I wanted to reach out to that sutra to incorporate it here, because it's an important point in terms of Buddhist teaching. So just a reminder, the verse reads, "This rain of jewels benefits all life, filling all space." So this benefiting all life, it's kind of appropriate that we did the full moon ceremony tonight, because the third pure precept is for the benefit of all beings. And this dharma rain, or rain of jewels, whichever metaphor we prefer, is for the benefit of all beings. In other words, without differentiation, without picking and choosing, it's universally benefiting all beings. I brought in one of the secondary texts that I have on the Lotus Sutra, where it talks about this point within the sutra. And it says, in this context that I'm just describing here, that an extremely important aspect of Buddhist practice for followers of the Lotus Sutra, and we can now add for followers of Huayan, is the practice of recognizing the Buddha nature in others. You know, we kind of focus on seeing our true nature, our Buddha nature. But a very important practice is to see it in others. It's vital. In fact, to truly see it within ourselves is to see it in others. Otherwise, it's not the Buddha nature we're seeing in ourselves, it's our sense of ego. So as this particular commentary on the Lotus that goes on to say, we should learn to see the Buddha not just in special holy people or leaders, but in all others. So it's a really good practice to, in your daily interactions with others, to look for the Buddha in everybody that you encounter, even those that are difficult. We've talked about how those people can be our greatest teachers. So we can all of a sudden, just with that insight, kind of shift our perspective. And then it goes on, referencing this metaphor of rain, to say that with the simile of the cloud and the rain, the focus of the sutra has shifted somewhat. From in the case of the Lotus Sutra, one of its chief themes is skillful means, which, by the way, is the title of the next chapter in Ben's book. So stay tuned for more on that next week. But it's shifting from a focus on skillful means to an emphasis on the universality of the Dharma and the equality of living beings. So that's to reference back to another very, very important teaching within the Mahayana tradition, the Lotus Sutra. This metaphor of rain plays a very important role there, which I always found to be very powerful. So, and in fact, I guess one last comment before I move on with Ben's commentary here is to remind ourselves that the sutra that really thoroughly sets forth the Huayan teaching is the Flower Garland Sutra, the Avatamsaka. So we have flower here. Again, hearkening back to the medicinal plants that the Lotus Sutra references, flowers, jewels. So we have, Dong Shan's poem, Song of the Precious Mirror Samadhi, where the mirror can be seen as jewels. And we have the flower, which also factors as a powerful metaphor image in the Lotus Sutra. So we have flowers, we have jewels, serving as metaphors for the nature of all things, pointing to different aspects of them. So the jewels, of course, have as one of their points of depiction this reflective quality that we're also looking at in our study of Guidepost of Silent Illumination on Saturday mornings now. The aspect of illumination, which we get from jewels, from mirrors, reflecting light. So the next thing, drawing from Ben's book, that I wanted to do here is to look at his opening paragraph, where, as he often does, he points to an incident within his life, his own experience, that kind of draws this out. And I wanted to begin there because then I'll follow this up by sharing with you kind of a Dharma experience that I had on a retreat that's kind of along the similar lines, pointing to what's being expressed in this chapter. So here's Ben's account. He says, a few weeks ago, my brother stepped into the cabin where we were staying with our mother and invited us to look at a moose he had just seen in a nearby lake. When we arrived, there were many folks on the shore looking, but the moose had left, annoyed by all the onlookers. We sat as an evening squall blew in over the towering cliffs of the Continental Divide to the west. In the shelter of a pine, we watched the droplets pelt the water, mesmerized as patterns of rippling circles intersected and disappeared. The sun burst through above the divide as the clouds floated east, and as the rain poured into the thirsty earth, the rays of the sun turned the air into a field of glittering gems. Drops flashed and glinted and disappeared in the space of the sky and the space of the lake. So what he's describing is he was called out of the cabin to see a particular thing, this moose. I've never seen a moose, so I would have been beating a path out that door and down to the lake. And I can well imagine I've been pretty disappointed. I came this close and I didn't see the moose. He couldn't wait just another minute or two for me. But instead, Ben is experiencing the majesty of what was happening, not what he had come out to see. And he could have gone, oh, shit. Right? But instead, wow, in great detail, he gives us an account of what all was happening. And I can relate to this as a teacher. A place that Chris among us here experienced, Temple Hills, down outside of Mansfield. And I'm sorry, Mike isn't with us because he practiced with us there on several occasions. He may have been there on this particular occasion. In fact, Chris may have been there. I'm not certain. But often we were going there during the winter, it seemed. But this time it was a summer retreat. I know this because of the story I'm about to share with you. As was my habit before our first sitting, I'd step outside of the building where we were both living, sleeping, and where we were sitting. So I went out and stargazing and just kind of appreciating the very cozy temperature. And all of a sudden I was struck, with the starlit sky where kind of not subject to that much light pollution. And the inspiration hit me that what are we doing sitting downstairs in this building? We need to take Zazen outside. So I make the announcement, go down, get your zafus and zabutons, and let's go outside and sit out there. So we go start sitting. And of course, things don't remain the same. So the sun starts coming up, the stars start disappearing. Not only that, but insects start waking up. So we've got these insects buzzing around. So there, all of a sudden, it went from this bucolic experience, being out in the country and stars out, and my vision of what the Zazen was going to be like, and now it became something very different. And yet, within a few minutes, I'm realizing, wow, nature is waking up to a brand new day. How awesome is that? How often do we have that chance to sit and see things coming to life? So this the subject matter of seeing the rain of jewels, and it's always there. And yet we're looking for a particular arrangement all too often. And if that doesn't appear, we're disappointed. Oh, I thought it was going to be like this. Kind of like wishing that there wouldn't be any snow. And yet then it starts snowing. But yet then maybe we notice how beautiful the snow is. That's assuming you're not in the middle of a 50-car pileup on the Ohio Turnpike, of course. It does have its negative aspects. But then the sun does too. Yeah, there are accidents caused by the sun being too bright. So to be able to have that dharma eye, to be able to appreciate the jewels that are always falling on us, the dharma rain. And we can call it dharma rain because they're all pointing to this vast web of interdependence, which is what the Huayan teachings are about, you'll remember. It's about interdependence. And when we see things that way, then everything all of a sudden takes on this jewel-like quality. And we find, as our Bodhisattva vow chant goes, that Dharma gates are boundless. It's just another way of saying that the rain of jewels is always coming down. So it's always raining. And rather than having to wear rain gear, what we need to do is have our eyes looking for the jewels. In that Dharma recognition, the wisdom that they are always there. We just need to see them. So that's, I think, really the heart of what's being covered here in this chapter. And Ben, further on, after his opening paragraph, says that the Avatamsaka Sutra, which is the Flower Garland Sutra, this sutra says the Buddha in every single instant, everywhere, showers the boundless rain of truth. So we have to be careful with sentences like this. The Buddha, showering the boundless rain of truth. It starts to sound like a deity type figure. But the Buddha, remember, the Buddha is just the one who awakened. So it's that state of being awakened, which is what showers the boundless rain of truth. It's always there. And the core Buddhist teaching that we are all Buddha nature. So we all have this capacity. Don't look at the Buddha as some external figure, let alone a deity type figure. It's us, each and every one of us. So I'm obviously by this point enjoying the chapter, and then she sealed, or rather Ben seals the deal with me when he references braiding sweetgrass. So now I love the chapter. And his comment here is that The author of Braiding Sweetgrass, Robin Wall Kimmerer, mourns the fact that her students believe that the human relationship to the earth is inescapably extractive and harmful. This relationship of humanity and our home as being separate, subject, object, the dominant force that's serving our purpose. And one can understand why that view of reality would be so downright disheartening, depressing, immobilizing. It's like, why do anything? So it's kind of a short path to nihilism. And this is a fairly common view in the world at large. That our relationship to the earth and to anything and everything else is predicated on that sort of distinction. And then you also add the further layer on top of that of a market economy where the whole purpose of life is to accumulate more and more and more. And it's a matter of what you have. That's where the value is. Rather than seeing the rain of jewels everywhere, it's about gathering as many jewels based on what you think are jewels, gathering as many as possible. Even if that in that process, it's of great harm to this world, this planet. So if we're talking about Robin Wall Kimmerer, we're also talking about a subject near and dear to my heart, that of the gift economy. Her book after Braiding Sweetgrass on the serviceberry is a much shorter volume, and it's entirely about the gift economy. And she expresses it very simply, that people and land can care for each other. The land cares for us. To see that, which equates to seeing that rain of jewels always around us, the land around us, nature, and its myriad gifts that it bestows upon us. So land very much cares for us. So with that understanding, with that wisdom, the natural response is to return that care. That sort of reciprocity is kind of the engine that keeps the world turning. We can understand that in a scientific sort of way, studying things like ecosystems. But to really take it deeply within us, that understanding, to make it what I think we can safely call a spiritual understanding. And spiritual isn't some woo-hooey sort of ghost type thing. It's simply pointing to our connection to the greater whole. That's spirituality, being able to go beyond our small self, our self-centered tendencies, and to see that in fact we are part of something far, far greater. That's wisdom. So in the market economy, money becomes the measure of our wealth. And everybody's wealth is quantifiable, and you kind of know, therefore, where you stand. But this notion of the dharma reign falls equally everywhere. Is pretty radical stuff, right? There's no distinction now. Echoes of that prayer from the New Testament give us this day our daily bread, our daily rain, which is there. That's what's being talked about here, daily bread. And the fact of the matter is, it's wonderful bread. Some of us were talking about the Ed Brown film, How to Cook Your Life. Well, his great claim to fame was authoring the Tassajara bread book and the miracle of bread and really appreciating bread. So, rather than hearing, give us this day our daily bread, an honest response to that people might have is, well, I'd like a little more than bread, though, please. That's a punishment, right? Bread and water, that's all you get. Actually, Ed Brown was showing people that bread is just fantastic. It's a miracle, You could look out at a field of grain and turn that into something with all these different varieties and all these different things you can do with it. Quite wonderful. So this is to live our lives in accordance with the Dharma. Real simple, right? Just see the richness that's all around us. The jewels that are constantly raining down upon us. So Ben actually draws a quote from Braiding Sweetgrass, where Robin says, "Paying attention is a form of reciprocity with the living world, receiving the gifts with open eyes and open heart." Paying attention. It's essential. It's kind of the beginning and end, you might say, of our practice. Pay attention. It's what it is to be awake. We could be awake, but still kind of not fully conscious. Just kind of completely zoned out. So just this act of paying attention is in and of itself a form of reciprocity. If we're paying attention to the gift we're receiving. Just to be aware of what we've received. So when we receive a gift from somebody, we understand with our wisdom to show that we are paying attention. We acknowledge it, and like wow, this is so nice. Thank you. So we could always be having this kind of a response if we understand the rain of jewels. that we're constantly walking in. And this, I like to relate my talks here with teachings I give at Whitehaven. This is very much a theme that I'm constantly returning to there about how blessed each day is, how precious it is. And the same message that paying attention, we need to become aware of it because generally we're not. I try to point out to them that when we meditate and we can get some level of clarity of mind through the course of our meditation, all of a sudden we're noticing things that we didn't before. It arises from that clarity. And as a result, life becomes richer just from this act of sitting in meditation. It helps us pay attention. And to see the gifts that we receive with open eyes and open heart, as Robin puts it. And to see this essential truth that we need to get a clue about, that nature and humans are not separate things. So it's not that nature was put in front of us so we could have dominion over it. As Ben expresses it, oaks and black-eyed Susans drink the water from the sky and then give it back, as do you and I. This came up, I think maybe it was last week or the week before in connection with the water metaphor, water in the waves, and the cycle of water reaches down to that level. We were looking at it from a higher altitude, looking at streams and larger bodies of water, but it actually involves every being is a participant. So we're not separate. We're part of that great cycle. And that great cycle is very much for our benefit. So we could kind of say that nature is observing the third pure precept for the benefit of all beings. We struggle with that, but nature. So it sounds like a dharma gate to me. Nature's teaching us how to be true to these precepts that we claim to follow. So, in closing this out, towards the end, Ben talks about how liberation from suffering. So we're looking now at the original Buddhist teaching, the Four Noble Truths, the truth of suffering and liberation from it. Liberation from suffering is merely knowing this. This boundless Dharma reign. If we're aware of that, then there's nothing to cling to, nothing to attach to. Because we're always in that Dharma reign. We're always being nourished by it. And then finally, in this vein, he says, many Mahayana teachings say the truth is right here, but we may not know we are seeing it. We're kind of, that's delusion, is to have the truth right in front of you, but not see it as truth. But rather to see a delusion of separation, fed by the three poisons. And seeing the truth means knowing what to do that will be of benefit and doing it. To have that capacity, we have to be paying attention. And paying attention means being fully present, right here and now, aware. And if we do that, then we will respond. Nowhere in here is there anything about controlling anything or judging things. Those are all extraneous things we bring to bear in that context. So, to so many people, it sounds then like this is just a bunch of, we're making it up. But it's not that at all. This is what Ben refers to as intimacy, being so close to something. So in our deepest personal relationships, we understand that. How you can feel that way with somebody, that you know what to do. But the reality is that we could go through life having that kind of a relationship on a much broader basis. Much broader. That's to walk this path. So we get tastes of it in our relationships. But this path is a universal path. So we take that practice that we do with certain individuals and we bring it to the world at large. And that, I think, is what's being conveyed in this chapter. So I have some time left. I think I've covered what I wanted to. So I'll bow out here and invite your thoughts, questions. Rannigan.
Okay.
Oh, you're still muted. Either.
It's not muted on my side.
No.
Wait a minute. It's all the way up.
Unless. Nick, can you hear Rannigan? Oh, we have a problem. Problems here at the Zendo. You're okay, Rannigan. Like that.
Hi.
Okay, we're up and running. All right. Thank God Joe is here.
Thank you, Joe. I find I've had so many emergencies recently here at home. And after returning from an emergency medical appointment this morning for my husband, I came home and found that the we had ice jams in the front and back of our house, and water was dripping on my shredder in my the office. It was just, but immediately I found someone to fix it. But I was still angry about the medical appointment this morning. And as the day wore on, it's like I ended up getting to read a poem by Leonard Cohen about anger and letting anger go. And I started thinking about what was I grateful for today. And I was grateful there were no parking spaces at the Cleveland Clinic. And I spied a handicap spot that nobody knew about because of the snow. My neighbor gave me the name of Ice Jam release people. And I thought, I need to be grateful. And my anger is gone.
Oh,
So it kind of goes with what you were saying, but I thought, what a wonderful day I had.
that's beautiful. Thank you, Randy. So anything else? Joe?
Several years ago, I had something happen that I wished weren't happening. And somehow, because of maybe somebody I was talking with or something I had read somewhere along the way into that challenge, I asked myself what the gift in it might be. And, where's the jewel and what is it and how's it going to benefit? And I saw that after a while it was clear and there was a great benefit. It's like that dharma gate.
Yeah.
You walk through it and it's a learning opportunity. And so I found myself, I didn't make it a practice, but it was just sort of automatic after that every now and then I found myself saying, well, what's the jewel in that? Where's the gift? What is it? And it wasn't very long after that, probably within a year or so, that I found myself doing that doctor looked at me and said, it's cancer, so let's talk about that. And then I went through that, and somewhere, it took a few months, but I started asking myself the question, begrudgingly at first. I thought, I'll put it out there and then I'll turn it off and come back to it later. And I did that a few times. And then after a while, when things were looking better and I thought I was coasting, I revisited the question. And I really found something that, the jewel was just something that could not have appeared any other way. It was there for a reason, and it was a good one.
Yeah.
And because of the issue, the magnitude of the jewel was much greater, and it really affected my life. Wish I didn't have to learn that way, but still, it happened, and it was a real benefit.
John?
This is just a side note to something that, in terms of talking about braiding sweetgrass again, and looking at the way indigenous people view the world versus the way we do.
Yeah.
Um, I, I've so much, I think, looked at the greed that's involved in that. And what sort of struck me tonight is the violence that is inherent in that view.
Mhm.
I mean, the things we do, like to the earth, like strip mining
Right.
and, polluting our waters, and even on factory farms, but even on a smaller level, we're starting to learn that tilling the soil isn't necessarily a good thing.
Right.
That we're disrupting the life that is there, and that it isn't even helping us grow things as much as we thought.
Right.
But it seems to me that all of that grows out of this attitude of we're here to get what we can get.
Exactly. Exactly.
And it leads not only to greed, but it leads to violence too.
Yeah.
In that sense. And I'm sure you can make some steps from there to the greater violence that's in the world too.
Sure.
A bit peripheral, but that was what
Hmm.
came to mind as you were talking about all of that.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, the greed, because of our capabilities now, the inequalities are ever growing.
Yeah.
And the violence is a similar way. The capability to commit mass destruction is rapidly growing. So on both of those fronts, the trend is just downright, the future seems clear. That it's not leading us to a place anybody'd want to live in.
Unless we realize these things,
Yeah, then right. We're not aware of the dharma rain, the jewels that we're surrounded by, and we're just on a path of destruction instead. It's really tragic. So I guess in terms of sharing the dharma, it really comes down to sharing the fact, the insight that we don't need to have more and more and more and more. That we have more than enough already. Let's back off here
yeah,
and learn to actually enjoy the life you have instead of losing your life in this race to acquire more and more when it's never enough. Never ever. It's not about how much, it's about how you relate to whatever circumstances have, whatever the rain is that's fallen on you.
there's I think it's both a poster and a bumper sticker by the Syracuse cultural workers that says, if you have more than you need, build a bigger table. It's one of my favorite
Yeah,
things of theirs.
very well put.
Doesn't exactly fit with how we normally think in this country, but
No, not at all. Not at all. All right, well, let's go ahead and chant out then. I vow to myself and to each of you to commit myself daily to the healing of our world and the welfare of all beings, to live on earth more lightly and less violently in the food, products, and energy I consume, to draw strength and guidance from the living earth, the ancestors, the future generations, and my brothers and sisters of all species, to support others in our work for the world and to ask for help when I need it, to pursue a daily practice that clarifies my mind, strengthens my heart, and supports me in observing these vows. All right. Well, good night. Thanks again for joining us, and we'll be back on Saturday for our Jukai class.